Hey everyone, welcome to Crushing Classical, redefining a thriving classical music career. I'm Tracy Friedlander, welcoming you to Hot Seat number 6, Part 1. Amanda Chavis, a conversation to pursue and implement Plan A. Amanda Chavis is in the hot seat, exploring a course she created and wants to sell. On the show, Eileen goes into details with her on how to bring it into reality. Listen for what you hear in yourself as Eileen points out Amanda's core values and personality and how that plays into the course she's creating for her audience. Before we start, a couple of quick things. Please join the conversation at facebook.com/crushingclassical as well as Crushing Classical on Instagram. If you love what you see, it would mean so much to us if you would comment on posts and share them with your classical musician friends and colleagues. And if you haven't done it yet, join our Facebook group, Classical Cats. We continue the conversation inside the group on the topics we talk about on our episodes. You can join at facebook.com/groups/crushingclassical. I'd also like to thank Fix Music for being a sponsor of Crushing Classical Podcast. Have you checked out Fix Music for your music purchases yet? FixMusic.com is your online resource for affordable, high-quality sheet music. Fix also offers unique buying options for individuals, teachers, and schools. Whether you have a large private teaching studio or you run a music program, Fix has a solution for you. Contact them through their website for more information. Fix offers priority and Priority Express shipping at super affordable rates, meaning they do not pad their shipping rates to make money. If you need sheet music fast, Fix will expedite it to you as inexpensively as possible. Also, check it out. Crushing Classical listeners get a discount. Use the code CRUSH and get 10% off your first order. Let's get started. Hey Eileen, hey Amanda, how are you guys?
Hey there.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi, welcome to the hot seat.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a little bit different being on the other side of it. So,
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, Amanda, thanks for being on the call. And first of all, it'd be great if you can introduce yourself and just tell everybody what you're doing right now. You can even say something about your past. You can say about where you've come from, where you are now, and where you're thinking of heading. And again, this is just to help you create what's next for you, whatever that looks like. And it might be in something you're doing now, or it might be something else.
okay, yeah, sure. There's so many things. So right now, I'll start there. What I'm doing is I have a podcast also called Classically Trained. I started that in March, and that's kind of, I'm focused on growing that and expanding what I'm offering. I'm starting like a meditation series on that. I'm really excited about. But it kind of was a long and interesting road getting there. I'm a flute player. So I also play and I teach private lessons in high school and middle school in school districts around where I live, which is in Dallas. And teaching is not the thing that I ever really was passionate about. I never, went to school thinking I want to be the teacher of flute and that kind of thing. I always wanted to play. I wanted to be like, I love playing. That's where my heart is. And that's what I want to do. So I went to school and did my undergrad and finished that and was kind of burned out. So I took a break from that thinking it was going to be a year, but it turned into 4. And as I was so burned out, I kind of was, I don't know, kind of disenchanted with this whole, path, I guess. It was like I didn't see a way forward for myself on flute, like a clear way forward. I wasn't really into wanting to practice for auditions because, like I said, I was really kind of burned out of it. So I decided that I was going to be a vet. And it's kind of a funny thing that I was taking a walk with my husband around some of the, just in some neighborhoods where we lived nearby. And we were looking at houses and we're like, oh, everybody's getting houses now, our friends and stuff like that. And we want a house and all this stuff. And, you can't buy a house just by, he's a band director in a high school. So he's a teacher and me teaching private lessons, I was like, this isn't going to work for the lifestyle that, we want to have. And so I thought, oh, I'll be a vet and I'm going to make lots of money and following the money thing, which that didn't turn out. But it was a lesson I needed to have. So I decided I was going to be a vet. I went and did like two science classes at community college because at when you're a music major, you don't take science classes. Who needs those?
Right. That's true.
So I
Yeah.
took like a biology and a chemistry class there. And I was also working in a vet clinic and an emergency vet clinic. As a vet tech, I had my mom's cousin is a veterinarian, so I kind of got in that way, and it was kind of like a learn on the job kind of thing. Is really fascinating and really cool. But again, and I was also teaching lessons during this time. But again, I discovered a lot of things about myself. I get bored so easily in regular jobs that you have to do the same thing all the time, every day. So there was kind of that, and it wasn't really the connection that I wanted. You see yourself as a vet because you like animals, right? That's so become a vet, but it's not really, obviously it's not really what a vet is or does. So it's not, so I discovered it's not what I wanted. And I thought, oh, well, and then I went off on this whole thing of maybe I like psychology, so maybe I can do music and psychology together, or maybe I can just be a psychologist. And I was like, but I don't really, this is going to sound kind of crass, but like, I don't really care about other people's problems. I don't want to help. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear about other people's problems and like try and help them. So I thought, okay, maybe that's not the right path for me. So, eventually during this time, I honestly was completely miserable. Miserable. I couldn't even listen to music, like classical music anymore. And it was something that I had loved, and I couldn't listen to it. And I was denying it. But the reason I couldn't listen to it was because I couldn't do it anymore. I told myself this, that, if I can't do it, then I don't want to have any part of it. I don't want to play it. I don't want to hear it because it just kind of hurts too much. So one night at dinner, my husband was like, what do you want to do? Do you want to play? And I was, crying, yes, I want to play. He was like, then just play. We'll be fine. Just play your flute. So anyway, the long story. So then, the next few years I started playing again, played with a symphony in Lubbock, and then I did my master's. And, it was a good lesson, because I think I wouldn't have known how much I really like music, and playing was actually a core part of me if I hadn't tried to quit, if I hadn't tried to make myself stop. So through all of that, there still wasn't, I still love to play, but there still wasn't a clear, like, I want to do this thing when I'm done. And I remember when in grad school, when we finished, you get like, you do this kind of like exit interview kind of thing. And one of the questions they asked was like, okay, what are your goals moving forward? And I was like, oh, I hate this question. What do you want to do? And I said, well, I don't know. It would be nice to like play second flute in a, orchestra. And he was like, well, why don't you say you want to like be principal? Why don't you, you're good enough. Like, why is that not your goal? It's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I just don't, I'm not feeling that for, so
I just have to stop you for a second. That's really funny because I'm just kind of, it reminds me of Tracy. She knew that she was really good at low horn, and she, like, it's funny that somebody said to you, well, like you said, oh, I'd love to be, second flute. And they were like, well, why don't you want to be principal? That's like making you feel bad about that, like there's something wrong with second flute, or there's something wrong, whatever. It's stupid. It's like, that's what Tracy dealt with too, I think, for a long time, is the guilt of why don't I want to be principal, or why, do I have to be principal, or whatever.
Yeah. And one of the things about, since I had played with Lubbock, and I had subbed in I subbed in the San Antonio Symphony when I was living in San Antonio, and all that stuff. And I just enjoy second more because there's less pressure, and like you just get to have a little bit more fun. So and so everybody was like, well, be principal. Okay.
That makes sense.
Anyway, there's that. Then after I finished grad school, and I'm leading into like what led me to start, because this podcast maybe seems out of left field, like why I did that. But so having no direction, having left grad school, I found myself a life coach, and I thought, okay, like I just need I can't figure this out on my own. I'm too much in my head. There's no like objectivity. There's no other clear way for me to see this if I'm just in my head. So I got a life coach, which was amazing, incredible. And then she also led me to, I don't know if you've heard of the book, The Artist's Way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And so she led me through that. And it was through that I kind of discovered that I'm allowed to be more than just a musician. I'm allowed to call myself an artist because I have lots of interests and multiple things that I like to do. And I had been not doing them because I felt like, for example, I really enjoy animation and like kind of learning about that, or like some video related thing. And I thought, if I'm doing that, then I'm not a quote real musician. Nobody's going to take me seriously because I'm not only doing music, and that's not my sole focus in life. is music.
We're talking to Tracy Jr. here on the phone.
I know, which is why when I heard when I've been hearing your episodes, that's the same thing I think. I'm like, that's me too.
It's Tracy Jr.
Yeah, so that's what but that's where my mindset was. You get this for whatever reason, especially like going through school and all that stuff. So going through that, there was just a moment in there where I was like, I am an artist. I can do all kinds of things, and I can bring all my interests together. And I also had been certified. I am a yoga instructor. I went through yoga teacher training, and for the longest time, I was like, I really want to share yoga with people, like yoga for musicians, and do all this stuff. But I didn't have an avenue. Like I don't teach at a university, so I don't have any kind of access like that. How am I going to find the musicians who are going to want to do yoga for musicians? And so that was like on the back burner because I was like, I just don't know how to implement this. And then later on in the spring, I found another podcast actually called Smart Passive Income. And
yeah, it's a good podcast.
Yeah. So that blew open the doors for like, you can reach people online. What?
Yeah.
That can be an avenue for this stuff. And I was like, yes, now I have like the way to do what I want to do. And so all the while, I love podcasts. I love listening to them on my long drives, like to teaching and all that stuff. And I listen to On Being with Krista Tippett, and I just love her conversations with people because she gets into real stuff and like deep questions and, kind of the meaning, this might be too broad or too big of a term, but like the meaning of like being here and being human and all the experiences that come along with that. And, with various people, doing their things who she interviews. And I was like, this is amazing. And I listened to other stuff and I'm like, I want to know that from people. I feel like I have things that I could ask and want to know about and all that stuff. And so I thought for a while, I was like, I want to start a podcast. It was like maybe a year or something before I actually did it. And that's kind of what led to it. So I thought, I would want to talk to people and get real life answers, not the nice, why do you want to be a musician? Oh, because I love music. But I love, like, why did you want to be a musician? Well, it's the only thing that I got affirmed in. So that's what I did, like answers like that. Right. People like being real. That's what I'm about. Like, I don't care about surface level things. I want to know the real answers because we're all living real lives. And if we get surface level fake, this is the way I'm supposed to answer this answers, then we feel like we're doing something wrong because we're living the real lives, like behind the scenes, and we don't feel validated. Or, I mean, I guess there are ways that you can, but I feel like you feel validated when you hear that somebody else is going through the same thing or a similar thing. And you're like, oh God, okay, I'm not alone, or I'm not an outsider because I feel this way.
Okay. So let me ask you a question then. So you started classically trained in March. What was your original intention? Just curious.
Originally, so I wanted, there are two parts really. Originally, I wanted to interview these people to first, my thing is identity, entrepreneurship, and holistic thinking. So identity, like who are we as these musicians? How can we expand our definition of what we are as classically trained musicians? We don't have to necessarily go the orchestral route or the teaching route or the, I just do gigs. Like there are so many avenues open to us. And I had learned so much through my own coaching, through my own meditation practice, through yoga philosophy, through this Smart Passive Income. I was like, why don't more people know that? Why didn't I know this? And if I didn't know this, maybe other people don't know this, and maybe I can, share what I've been learning. So when you say like, why didn't I know this? What is the this you're referring to? It's how you can the other avenues that are open to you, basically. Like, why didn't I know that entrepreneurship was a thing? Like, why wasn't that something in school that we were taught to go out
and entrepreneurship, when you use that word, what are you meaning by entrepreneurship? I'm not assuming anything. I want to know from your words, you know?
Sure. I mean, being creative about how you want to build your career, like having the business knowledge and the marketing knowledge and all of that stuff, and then turning it and using that to create whatever kind of career that you want to create, getting creative with the musical.
Okay, so that's interesting. That's really interesting. Sorry to interrupt you. And by the way, when I interrupt you, it's not personal. It's just something is coming to me. So,
sure.
So it's really interesting that you say that because, so what I'm getting from you is that was the original intention. Is that right?
Yeah, it was that, and also audience building, because I also have a course.
Okay, you have a course. Okay, great. You have a course on audience building? Okay.
No, not a course on audience building, a course about like all this kind of stuff.
Okay.
Like mindset and like getting out of your own way and like figuring out what's blocking you, to know yourself on a deeper level so you can go out and do this creative stuff.
Okay,
so
got it.
Podcast,
So here's what's interesting about you is that you originally said, about entrepreneurship, about marketing, about, making money, that sort of thing. But what's really interesting about you is classically trained that you're doing right now is actually not about those topics. You're actually about the inner stuff, not the outer stuff. Are you aware of that?
Oh, yeah. That's my thing. I come from, yes.
Okay, I'm only asking because marketing is not really, I mean, maybe you've talked about it, but I haven't seen it. Like, in other words, I don't know that you're really about entrepreneurship as much as you are, because who you're showing up as right now at Classically Trained is very much about the inner, not the outer.
Right. And I guess I'm thinking of it as like the inner person informs the outer person, like the that's a good, let me think. The inner person, who you are, which you're right. You're exactly right. That's what I'm about. This deeper stuff is informing what you then go and do. And you're right. I don't necessarily talk about like the concrete things about entrepreneurship.
Yeah, you're a soft topic person, not a hard topic person. Soft topic meaning, you know what I mean? You know what I mean by that? Yeah. And by the way, one's not better than the other or right or anything. So sometimes people hear soft and they go, "Oh, she's a softie." That's not what I mean.
Can you explain soft topic? And I don't actually know what that means.
Yeah, so hard topic would be money, marketing, selling, entrepreneurship. Hard topic, like there's facts associated with that. There's tangibles. There's usually, when you talk about them, they're very concrete. Okay. The stuff that Amanda deals with is less concrete. It's a softer topic. Softer meaning it's not necessarily concrete. It has to do with experience. It has to do with being. It has to do with feeling. It has to do with emotions. That's soft topic.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I think where the entrepreneurship piece of that comes in for me is talking to these people, interviewing these people, highlighting these people who are doing different kinds of things in their for what they do, like as their careers and work. And they're not all that way. I do have some like orchestral stuff, but mostly how you're a different way to approach how you are a musician, what you can do as a musician. And you're right. Then I like to go into the deeper, the softer stuff, like you said. But I do like to know like what, like the details about, okay, well, now what did you actually do to get there?
Right.
Sometimes that doesn't always come out in the interviews because I get so wrapped up in the other stuff, but it's always in my like interview questions.
Yeah, well, and I actually don't really think that's bad necessarily. I think it's fine. It's just, more than anything, I just wanted to shine a light on that. I know that your intention initially was the whole marketing, of course you were listening to Smart Passive Income, so it's not really a surprise that that's how it started. Mm-hmm. But how it's morphed is you've gotten into the inner part of people. Mm-hmm. And so I think what would be so. So here's my question: what do you want to do? Like, I'm assuming you want to make money from classically trained. I'm assuming you want to do because you talked about doing retreats, which I'm sure you would get paid for, right?
Yeah.
So what are you thinking? So what are you thinking in that realm?
All right. So here's my kind of thing that came out a week or two ago. I do want to expand. So I'm want to do a website kind of redesign to encompass all of these things. So the podcast is part of that, and the meditations. I also have the course that I mentioned just a second ago. It's called Beyond the Notes, and it's this. I would get paid for that also. So that's like this online intensive, and for the moment, it will require my time. Maybe in the future I can do that more as an automated thing. But for right now, it's 5 weeks, and every week you get a Skype call. So we like cover a topic, and you have exercises. It's modeled after the artist way, but now specifically geared towards musicians. So each week there's like reading and stuff like that, and then exercises related to both the reading and also musical stuff, like music specific. Like, here's how you can relate to your instrument using these kind of things we've been talking about. Here's how you can apply it and relate it to your instrument. And while you're playing, this is what you can do too. And then there's a Skype call, and we kind of get to go over that. And I have taken three friends through it to test it out for me, and they really enjoyed the Skype calls, which is why that's such a big part of what I want to offer right now.
Okay.
When it's ready. So that's that. And then I also, I want to do retreats, kind of like creative recharge for musicians. Because again, I feel this is kind of a bit about why I'm doing the course too, because we don't give ourselves the time always, or we feel like we don't have the time, and we don't give ourselves the time to really ask ourselves, like, okay, like take stock, like, where am I? What do I want? How am I feeling about what I'm doing? How do I want to move forward? All those kinds of things. And then also just to recharge, we go, and sometimes devalue how important it is to take time to not be going. Because when do you get your best ideas and the creative ideas? It's not when you're on all the time. It's when you have a chance to stop for a second.
Okay. So let me ask you a question about, you called it Beyond the Notes, right?
Yeah.
And that's the 5-week deal, right? Okay. So what is the outcome of that 5-week? I'm going to call it a course. Is that right? Or is it a program? Should I call it a program?
Yeah, I'm calling it an intensive course.
Okay. So I'll call it an intensive. Okay. So what is the outcome of that course? Like, if I'm a customer, a potential customer, what would you tell me the outcome of the course is?
I would say, see, now this is a very good question, because this is the part that I've been, that's hanging me up.
Here.
That's hanging me up,
that
I'm struggling with. So I want at the end for someone to feel like, well, if I think about it, essentially it's the way that I felt in the middle of the artist way. I want somebody to feel like they are allowed and capable of going on and creating a career based off their interest that is also sustainable for them.
Okay. So you want them to feel, I'm going to try and recreate what you said. I want them to feel like they can go on and create a career based on things they're interested in. Did I get that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like pulling multiple, basically that they don't have to follow one path that somebody a long time ago said that they had to do, or maybe they've even told themselves for a long time that they have to do, that they are whole people first who are allowed to kind of explore the different aspects of that.
Okay, I got it. Ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
So, so here's what I recommend. So I'll illustrate an example for a minute. So if you were a golfer, let me use golf for an example because it's simple. If you were a golfer, would you buy a course that promised you that you would feel like you could be a better golfer? I'm just asking. And by the way, I'm not trying to go anywhere. I just want to know, would you?
I could go both ways with that, to tell you the truth. But I see what you're saying, though.
Because here's what I would buy if I was a golfer. I would buy a course that taught me that they promised me the result was that I would know what my next move was to be a better golfer.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
it's
that's a
not-
better way to say it.
See what I mean? You're not selling the feeling of that I can be a better golfer, but you're selling at the end of it, there's some decision or some action that is clear now that I can go take to be a better golfer.
Yes.
So, what does this have to do with what point am I making? The point I'm making is, what if you created Beyond the Notes, and it's possible to change the name, but we won't talk about that right now because we just want to make it, because people buy words.
Mm-hmm.
And Beyond the Notes, even though I like the feel of it, but it doesn't tell me anything about the result. So I would make the title of the course more apt to the result. But I think part of the reason why that didn't happen is because you were not clear necessarily what the result was. So what if you created the course to be, by the end of the course, you will have made a decision about, like a concrete decision with a list of actions about what direction you're going to go of an interest that you have.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, you're going to explore your interest. I'm just making this up, right? You're going to explore your interests. You're going to explore what you're passionate about. You're going to explore what moves you. I'm making this up. You're going to explore what your genius is or whatever. I'm making that up too. Again, I'm just making this up. But by the end of the 5 weeks, you will have made a decision about what direction you're going to go, and you will have a clear set of action steps to take next.
Yes, that's exactly what I've been missing.
Because I would buy that.
Yeah.
If I was an artist. So there's a difference between selling a feeling and selling a result.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you're selling, whatever the course is, the program is, or whatever, you want to make sure that you are selling an actual result, something that they want. Because if all you're selling is how they're going to feel, remember, if you line 20 people up against those, I see this all the time in online marketing. People are like, you'll be more successful. Buy my
Right, but what does
course.
that mean?
What does that mean? Because if you line 20 people up against a wall and you ask them what success means, you're going to get 20 different definitions of success.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, this is another thing. Whenever somebody buys a course from you or buys a program from you, if you sell feelings, the problem with selling a feeling is it cannot be measured.
Mm-hmm.
So like, how much happiness? Am I going to be 50% happier? Am I going to be 70? And how do I measure that?
Mm-hmm.
And what I always tell people is, if you don't bring a yardstick to the party, they eventually will.
Mm-hmm.
You have to bring a yardstick to the party, which means you want to offer something that has a result they care about.
Yes, that's what I've been missing. Because at the end, I do in the last week, like we do the goals and like here are your steps forward. But I have not known how to put it into those right words.
Mm-hmm. And listen, the cool thing about this, though, because you do inner work and because you worked with a life coach and because you do meditation and you're obviously very connected inwardly, or at least that's your goal to be, and so you work on it, right? Mm-hmm. It's a practice for you, mm-hmm. right? Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't. The trouble with musicians, classical musicians, is they're always looking to the outside for, does my teacher think it's okay?
Right.
Does the audience like it? Mm-hmm. It's always outside validation. So one thing I think you bring to the table is maybe you can brand, if you will, a process for connecting with yourself for that validation instead of getting it from outside. Because I think that's where it begins. Mm-hmm. I think it begins there. And then also, sorry, I'm trying to think of what I was going to say. The cool thing about a course like this is you don't necessarily have to give them the action steps. If at the end of the 5 weeks, or let's say it's at 4 weeks, whenever it is, they make a decision. Most of the time when they see a decision, they will see their own actions to take, and all you have to do is ask them what they are. Because all action is preceded by a decision.
Yeah.
There is no action until a decision's been made.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Just you get
Yeah.
that? It's
Oh
impossible.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
There's no action unless a decision gets made. A decision always precedes action.
Yes.
So that's one thing to think about, to consider too, is that, you know, and I'm also telling you that because, this will be very revealing for anyone listening. If you give people actions and they don't work, oftentimes they will come back and point the finger at you because it didn't work.
Right.
Well, you told me to do this, Amanda, and it didn't work. So it's almost better if the actions come from them.
Hmm.
And then you walk them through the process of coming up with those actions. So
Mhm.
you create the process for them to walk through to come up with those actions instead of you giving them the actions.
That makes sense.
And I tell you that after 9 years of hardcore business coaching with people who have blamed me for whatever result they didn't get because of some actions I told them to take.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they may or may not have done the actions. It doesn't matter if they did them or they didn't do them. It doesn't matter if what I laid out was right or wasn't right. If it didn't work, they're going to find fault with me every time.
Right.
Right. And so just think about, you know, just consider that for the close of the 5 weeks. But and if you can market that, if you can, because listen, this is, I mean, you're really creating the course that you would have wanted at the time when you were like, oh, I'm going to be a vet, and oh, I'm going to be a, right.
Yeah.
This is when you know, when you were like, oh, I'm going to be a yoga teacher. Oh, I'm going to be,
Yeah.
you know, like, you know, oh, I'm going to be an animator or whatever, right?
Right.
This is, you know, this is the course that, you know, you needed something to give you permission.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
at the end of it, part of it is the feel. So you're selling the feeling of the, you know, you're going to have permission for the first time to explore what you would really love to do and things that really matter to you. And then by the end, you will have decided what your path is, and you will have a clear series of actions to take to execute on that.
Yeah. That's
So
exactly it.
it's a really nice combination of soft topic and hard topic. And I think that's important for you because soft topic is where it's at for you, but hard topic is what they buy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It makes
And
sense? Okay, so I'm
how
gonna
funny
shut
now
up.
that you're saying that. That's funny and not so funny. I guess that's the part that I struggled with the most in figuring out how to say like this is actually what you're going to get, because for a long time I was like, okay, well, you're going to get like the goal process or whatever, which I really kind of don't like anyway. But
Mhm.
but this is you know, here's a concrete thing that you can walk away with. But I like the way you put it much better than what I came up with.
Well, and you know what it is? Honestly, the number one problem that people have is making a decision.
Mhm.
When and the reason, you may not know this, the reason you hired a life coach was to make a decision.
Hmm.
There was some decision you hadn't made and you couldn't figure out how to make it on your own, and so you hired that person. You don't know that, but that's actually why. The only reason why anyone has hired me over the years is because there was some decision they haven't made or were unwilling to make.
Hmm.
That's it.
Interesting.
I'm serious. I mean, that's it. That's the only reason why people paid me. Because there was some decision they had not made or were unwilling to make. If you look, you will see that this is
Yeah,
true.
I'm thinking about that right now. I'm thinking like, what was it? What was it that it was that I didn't know. It's not that I didn't have any idea of what I wanted to do. I mean, I knew I wanted to play, but
Right. And you
I
just weren't
had so
deciding.
many.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't deciding,
And
and
you
I had
weren't
so many
deciding.
things I wanted to do, and I didn't know which one was at that time. I still had the mindset of like, well, I have to pick one and stick on that path, and that means I can't do the other ones, and I really want to do the other ones too. And so, yeah, I was
Okay, so
stuck.
here's what's interesting about that. Let me just speak to that because I know a lot of people are like you. So
Yeah.
a lot of people they have a lot of interests. I'm one of those people who doesn't really have that many interests. I'm a little rare. But there's a lot of people who have a lot of interests like you. Like, I can do this and I can do this. And also, one of your core values is clearly fun. That's obvious. And it came out in your speaking quite a bit, including the whole thing about it would be so much more fun to play second flute. It's not as serious and it's not, you know, like that came out. And so I mean, I actually wrote down I was typing when you were talking. Hopefully it wasn't too loud. I was trying to be soft. Core value, one of her core values is definitely fun, is what I wrote. And so part of the whole fun thing is you like to do different things.
Yeah.
So here's what's interesting about that is if you just choose, it's not that you can't do many things. It's that if you just choose one thing and follow it down, follow that path, you will see opportunities to do all the other things you enjoy doing. But you have to be willing to get on a path and follow it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you will look for other fun things you love to do, because that's the way that you are.
That's
you
true.
Look, fun finds you, you find fun. That's just part of you. So if you just picked a path and took it, if you just take it and you follow it, the thing that always stops people is, well, I've got these 6 paths I could choose from, but I don't want to pick one because it might not be fun. Well, think about that. You could pick one and you could follow it, and all the other things that you love to do could be a part of it. But you'd have to be willing to walk down that path far enough to see how you could incorporate it.
Mm.
And most people just don't do that. So they just don't make decision.
Yeah, that's what it was before I went to my life coach. It was like, I don't know which one. I don't know which one is the quote right decision that I need to make.
And that's the question: is what is right?
Right.
What does that look like? What's right? And I'm actually asking you what
you are.
Mean?
Oh,
I'm just curious. I mean, what does it mean? What does right mean?
I don't think that to me, right means, I don't think that there is right, really.
Fun.
I think,
right
to me,
is fun. Right?
Yeah, to me, right is something that that makes you feel good. I mean, that sounds so,
But that's who you are, though, girl.
It that way, yeah, because that can be taken really wrong.
Love yourself, Amanda. Love yourself.
I'm just saying,
you have to you got to be who you are. If feeling matters to you, then that's important.
Yeah.
Well, I think too, right is if you're thinking of doing something and you just get a terrible feeling in the pit of your stomach and you're like, oh, I just don't want to. For example, one of the reasons that I know that teaching is just not the way. Not only did I not just want to do it when I started, but it's just something that every day I have to put myself in the right mindset. I have to put more effort into, okay, how am I going to make this meaningful? How am I going to not let this drag me down? What am I actually going to do in my own mind and attitude and whatever going to teach that is not going to kind of bring me down? I hate saying that.
It's not fun.
But
it's just not fun.
It's not. But it's something that I've had to do. And so for me, right
Are you
is...
Sure?
Well,
Wait,
that's what I've told to myself.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Whoa, let's talk about that.
Okay.
Okay, so you're like, okay, so it's something that I've had to do. So tell me why you have to. I'm doing air quotes right now. You can't see it, but I'm doing air quotes. Why do you have to teach?
Honestly, it's because I didn't see any other way to make money I would say it's easy. It's kind of easy money.
Okay, it's easy money.
And
okay. I have a question. Okay. So beyond the notes, the 5-week course, if I told you that today you could give up, so you have a choice. You can either, if I told you today that you could make the same amount from Beyond the Notes 5-week intensive course that you're making from teaching, what would you say, yes or no?
I would say absolutely. Sign me up. I'm quitting today teaching.
Okay. And so what's stopping you from making Beyond the Notes that?
Oh, I want it to be that. That's my goal. That's the thing that
but wait. What if the goal could be now instead of, later?
Okay. So your question is, what's stopping it from happening right
now?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, when do you think it could? What is your impression right now of when you could have that be true?
Okay. Ooh, look at what you pulled out. Okay.
I know. A huge pain. Tracy deals with this all the time.
No, this is perfect.
Believe me.
This is perfect. No, I like it. I am this soft person, but I like this kind of get to the point. Let's get to it and work. That's why I liked my grad school teacher so much. Side note is he never was oh, you're so good or whatever. I don't care. I don't need to hear that. I want to know what I can fix. And I want to know how I can move
I know.
forward.
I totally get it.
So, so thank you. I like that. Okay. So what you just pulled out was that I created this course. I spent all last fall doing it, and I think it's good. I think it's good as like a foundation for what it is right now. And the people who went through it liked it and like got something from it. And I'm so happy for like the results. And now as I'm revisiting it, I'm like, okay, now I'm going to launch this thing. I'm looking at the things that like I've learned since then. And I'm like, oh, I want to do this. I want to make it better. It's, before you jump in.
So I want to make it better.
I know it's the thing that's like,
I
wanted to make
it's a classical musician's disease, which is I have to make it perfect before I'm going to perform it.
Yeah. And I just wanted to reflect like all the things that I want to teach now. But what's
okay. Wait, hold on. Okay. So question. First of all, you said you had 3 friends do the course, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And are they musicians, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay. So first thing I want you to do is I want you to go back to them and ask them if they would pay for the course and tell them not to lie to you.
Oh, I did ask them that, and they said they would.
Okay,
I did a whole survey.
How much would they pay for it?
I asked them, I didn't leave it open-ended. I said, I'm thinking about this much. Would you pay for that?
See, you want to ask them, though. I mean, seriously, you should ask people, like if you have people run through your course like that, like a beta, ask them, okay, so would you be willing to pay for this course, yes or no? And please be like brutally honest with me, because I don't need you to, this is not an ego thing. This is a not joking around thing. And they're going to say yes or no. Okay, great. How much would you pay for this course? What value did it have to you? Give me a dollar figure. Let them tell you.
Okay.
Okay, and here's the other thing. Is what you and I talked about a little earlier about the outcome of the course, is that reflected right now? In other words, the only thing, I want you to get this, the only thing your course has to do is what it said it would do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to say that again because you need to hear what I said. The only thing a course needs to do is what you said it would do.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're going to measure it on is how it feels to you. And whether it has everything in it that I want it to have, because you're a feeler.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to help you understand is commerce is not about how you feel, sweetheart.
Mm-hmm.
It's about whether or not you delivered what you said you would deliver. So does it or not?
Tune in next week for part 2 of Amanda's Hot Seat. See you next time.